right, anybody got some praise in the house for the Lord today? Here we go! Sometimes you gotta dance through the darkness, sing through the fire, praise when it don't make sense. Sometimes you gotta stare down the giant, worship from the lion's den, yeah. Sometimes you gotta shout from the mountain, louder in the valley, trusting that he's gonna get you there. Sometimes you gotta welcome the wonder, wait for the answer, worship with your hands in the air, and I'll praise you anywhere. Praise, give him praise, give him praise in the highest praise, give him praise, give him praise in the highest. He is worthy, and yes, he is worthy of all the praise. Sometimes you gotta praise in the prison, cry out to heaven, shout it till the door swing wide. Sometimes you gotta stand on your shackles, brave in the battle, worship with your hands held high, and I'll praise you anywhere. Praise, give him praise, give him praise in the highest praise, give him praise, give him praise in the highest. He is worthy, and yes, he is worthy of all the praise. Give him praise, give him praise in the highest praise. Give him praise, give him praise in the highest. He is worthy, yes, he is worthy of all the praise. I gotta pray. All right, if God's been faithful to you, I encourage you to sing this out with us. Faithful all my life, faithful all my life, blessings day and night, countless reasons why I'll praise you anywhere. Every promise kept, goodness every step, each and every breath, I'll praise you anywhere. Faithful all my life, blessings day and night, countless reasons why I'll praise you anywhere. Every promise kept, goodness every step, each and every breath. Come on, church, lift it up. Praise, give him praise, give him praise in the highest praise. Give him praise, give him praise in the highest. He is worthy, yes, he is worthy of all the praise. On the mountain or the valley, I know that you're with me there, and I'll praise you anywhere.
All right, let's do this thing. Yeah, we're going to be in the book of Daniel today, specifically in chapters 1 and 6, okay, if that's helpful for you. Like Chad said, we're going to take a really short and quick look at the life of Daniel, and Daniel has to be one of the most consistent characters in the whole Bible. He has to be one of the most devoted to God people that we can find. A lot of people in Scripture, they have kind of faults or things in their stories where they fall short, where they mess up, and that kind of can define them sometimes even. But Daniel doesn't really seem to have that because everything about his life is focused on and built around God and God alone. And that's what I want us to talk about today. I'm going to throw our main point up super early on, okay? We just have the one main point, and I want us to be able to trace it through the message today. Here's the main point that we're going to look at. Daniel's personal devotion was consistent with his public faith. His personal devotion to God was the same as his public actions that proved his faith and his devotion to God. The big words that I want to focus on just for a moment are devotion and faith, okay? Devotion is described as something you have given yourself over to in the display, study, and discussion about it. So if I'm devoted, and like some of you might be, if I'm devoted to the Tennessee Vols, then I'm probably going to talk about the Tennessee Vols. And my Saturdays are probably going to revolve around Tennessee football. And I'm going to admit something. I did something kind of crazy this past Saturday. Tennessee wasn't even playing. I got a big log of bologna, and I tried, you score a log of bologna when you're going to smoke it and stuff, so it has room to expand. I did a Tennessee tea on there because I'm so devoted, all right? It was ugly. That's why I didn't post a picture of it. That's why it wasn't on Facebook. But that's my devotion. I was excited about Tennessee, even though they weren't playing. That's devotion though, right? My mind's around it, thinking about it. Or maybe you're a musician. Maybe you're devoted to your art. Maybe you're devoted to learning how to really play the piano well. So every day you come home and that's the first thing you do. Or maybe it's the guitar. You come home and you practice and you're thinking about what song you want to learn next. And you're thinking about where this might lead and what this could do for you. That's devotion. Or if you're married in here, I'm married to my beautiful wife, Allie Grace, and I devoted myself to her on our wedding day. I devoted my thoughts and my actions and my words. Every single date from then on was going to be with her, right? I was devoted to her and her alone. That's what devotion is. It's a big deal. To be devoted to something is to put it above everything else in our lives. And what you are devoted to will influence who you hang out with, what you say and how you say it, where you go, your internal dialogue, the choices you make. What you are devoted to will reflect through those actions, okay? Devotion is an internal matter, and faith is also an internal matter. Faith is your own. It's your choice to choose what you believe. But there is a side to faith that is public. There's a side to faith that shows itself. In the New Testament, we can think of it as the fruit of the Spirit, right? If God's Spirit is indwelling in me and partnered with my spirit, then there are going to be fruits, right? Well, it's the same thing. Whatever I'm devoted to, my faith is going to reflect that. Faith is going to be the external side to this coin today. If I'm devoted to the Tennessee Vols, but then I go and I'm watching, and I hate to even say this, I'm going to throw up in my mouth a little. If I go and watch Alabama and cheer for Alabama, you might question my devotion to Tennessee because my actions, my choices, my faith is not aligning. Or if I say I'm devoted to learning the guitar and becoming a singer-songwriter, but I just go home and I strum the G for about 5 minutes and then I put it down, you might say, okay, I don't think you're really devoted to learning the guitar if that's all you're doing, if that's the only choice you're making. Or maybe if it was, like I said, my wife, if I'm devoted to my wife, but I never take her on dates. I never buy her flowers. I never hype her up. I'm kind of trash talking her behind her back. You might look at me and say, are you sure she's your wife? Are you sure you're devoted to her? Because you're not acting like it. So when we look at Daniel's story, there is that devotion. We see that every single decision he makes is built around God and God's design, his plan, and his commands. And every single action he takes, every single word he says, matches up with that devotion he claims to have. All right, we're going to look at 2 stories today that kind of help us make sense, and then we'll apply it to ourselves, okay? Daniel, like Chad said, he's in a very interesting situation. Jeremiah says, hey, y'all are going to get taken captive if you don't clean it up. Guess what? Didn't clean it up. And so Babylon comes in, and they take over. Everybody's in captivity. Well, King Nebuchadnezzar, who is the king during the exile, he says, I want the best looking, the smartest, the strongest, the wisest men from this place we just took, and I want them to be my personal assistants. The strongest, think about Chad and Josh and Mike and Andy, right? Strongest, smartest, best looking, right? Nobody believes that. Okay, hey, good thing they're not in here right now. No, but he wanted the best of the best to be his personal assistants, okay? And part of this was a 3-year training process. The chief of staff, he took all of these men, these young boys, and he said, here's what your day's gonna look like. Here's what you're gonna be doing. We're gonna do some Babylonian history class, and then we're gonna do some Babylonian fighting training, and we're gonna eat the king's food that he prescribes for us, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. It's basic training, basically, for these guys as they go into service to the Babylonians. But part of that, like I said, the king sets their diet. The king, Nebuchadnezzar, decides, here's what you're going to eat while you're training. And he filled it with a bunch of meats, wines, steaks, cheeses, really good, hearty stuff. But in Daniel chapter 1, verse 8, we read this. Daniel was determined not to defile himself by eating the food and wine given to them by the king. He asked the chief of staff for permission not to eat these unacceptable foods. Now, it's really easy to read over this, but it's important we stop for a minute. Because it sounds, for me, I'm like, okay, what's the big deal? He has to eat a steak and drink a little bit of wine. So what? What's the deal? Why is that a problem? Scholars believe there's about 3 different reasons that this was an issue for Daniel. I want us to take a brief look. Number 1, it was not kosher. Kosher was kind of the diet that the Israelite people were told to follow. So maybe some of these foods and drinks were going against the Mosaic law that was presented way back early on in the Old Testament. Maybe these were foods that God said, hey, don't eat this, instead eat this, or don't eat that unless it's cooked this way. It could have been that that was the case. And Daniel was like, I can't do that because the Mosaic law says so. Number 2, and I think this might be the most probable reason that Daniel refused the food. It was sacrificed to idols of false gods. That was a big deal in God's law. He said, do not eat food if it was dedicated to or sacrificed to a god other than me. And so there's a really good chance the Babylonians coming in with all their gods and their kind of view of what happens after life, that they sacrifice these meats and wines to those gods. And Daniel said, I can't do that because I can't follow God and serve him, but also be in relation to these other gods. That was a big problem for him. And the third reason they think it could have been is that eating the king's food he offered implied reliance on and friendship with the king. And Daniel's going, no. I don't rely on anybody except God. I don't have to eat the food of anybody because God will provide. Daniel, in the smallest of things, even the food he ate, was devoted to God. Every single choice, he was devoted to God. It put his life on the line. He was denying a direct order from the most powerful king at the time. And he did not care. He really did not care. I'm not going to eat the steak because my God says not to. I'm sure his friends were like, Daniel, come on, bro. Do not get us in trouble for a steak, man. Seriously, it looks good. Let's not cause an issue. We're new here. We are not, we're the foreigners. Let's just take it easy. Don't put a target on our back. But Daniel was set on being devoted to God and allowing his public faith to reflect that. There was a pastor, David, I think I'm saying his last name right, David Guzik. He put it this way. Daniel did not object to the name that was given to him because he knew who he was, so others could call him whatever they wanted. Daniel did not even object to the Babylonian education because he knew what he believed already. But he did object to the food from the king's table because eating it was a direct disobedience to God's word. While Daniel knew it was wrong to eat food sacrificed to idols, he could have brushed it off. He could have said, no, you know what, it's easy, it's fine, we'll just do it this one time and we'll move on. But that was not the case. He was ready to risk it all because he was devoted to God. Well, the chief of staff at the time, he liked Daniel, and he was like, dude, you're going to get me in trouble. I could get killed if I allow this to happen and you and your friends start getting all scrawny and weak. And so Daniel says, all right, here, how about this? You let me and my friends eat vegetables and drink water for 10 days. And let the rest of the guys do their thing. They can eat what they want, drink what they want, eat the meats and wines. But at the end of 10 days, let's see what the difference is. They had 3 years of training, so 10 days wasn't too much to ask for. So the chief of staff said, all right, let's do it. Let's run it. And what happened was pretty awesome. Daniel chapter 1, verses 18 to 20. When the training period ordered by the king was completed, the chief of staff brought all the young men to King Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and no one impressed him as much as Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. You may know them as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they entered the royal service. Whenever the king consulted them in any matter requiring wisdom and balanced judgment, he found them 10 times more capable than any of the magicians and enchanters in his entire kingdom. Because Daniel acted in faith based on his devotion, putting his life on the line in the smallest of matters, God blessed him and he blessed his friends. They were stronger, they were taller, they were better looking, and they were smarter than all the guys eating the king's stuff that was offered to the other gods. And I would call that a miracle, because if you know anything about vegetables, you ain't getting all big and strong off of just some bell peppers and carrots. You know what I'm saying? So it had to be God, but God blessed them. He gave them favor, and they ended up being some of the wisest men in the entire country. Well, after this, Daniel is blessed by God with the gift of being able to interpret visions and dreams. And King Nebuchadnezzar had some dreams, Daniel interprets them. The next king comes, and he has some dreams, Daniel interprets them. And over time, the nation of Babylon starts to have a little bit of respect for this Israelite God. They kind of understand, okay, this God is for real. Like, he's doing legit stuff, but they're never full in. But at least they kind of leaned into it a little bit because of Daniel's devotion, right? Time and time again. Well, eventually there's a king, King Darius. He takes over. And Daniel, again, impresses him as much as he impressed the kings beforehand. But Darius realizes, okay, Babylon's growing. I'm one man. I cannot rule this place by myself. I cannot be the one-man show. He goes, I need 3 guys to be my right-hand guys. I need 3 men to kind of help me take care of this kingdom. And each of these 3 men are going to have 40 guys below them who are also going to help out. He's kind of, pyramid scheme. It's kind of crazy, but he builds the pyramid scheme. And Daniel becomes one of the 3 head honchos, which is awesome. But it's crazy to me that one of the 4 most powerful people in the entire country is a foreign captive who was denying orders from a previous king. But God still blessed him and raised him up into power so that he might receive the glory. God would receive the glory. Daniel allowed himself to be used by being faithful to start to change an entire nation. Well, in Daniel 6, 3-9, it says this: Daniel soon proved himself more capable than all of the other administrators and high officers. Because of Daniel's great ability, the king made plans to place him over the entire empire. I need y'all to hear this. King Darius is saying, hey, when I'm done, when I pass away, when it's over for me, this foreign captive who was disobedient to my predecessors, he's going to be the one ruling this place. And he's not even one of us. Crazy. This is crazy. Then the other administrators and high officers began searching for some fault in the way Daniel was handling government affairs. But they couldn't find anything to criticize or condemn. He was faithful, always responsible, completely trustworthy. So they concluded, our only chance of finding grounds for accusing Daniel will be in connection with the rules of his religion. Oh my goodness, how awesome is that? He was such an upstanding man. He was such a good person in the eyes of the world that the only way he was going to get messed over is in relation to the rules of following God. Can that not be my story? I'd so desperately want that to be who I am, right? I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how much trouble I get in. I don't care what's on the line, because I'm going to be following God. I don't care where I get. I don't care what I do. I don't care who's around me and supporting me. I'm going to follow God. And the only way you're going to pull me down is by messing with my religion, my devotion to God. I hope that's your desire for your own heart. Just for a minute, let's keep reading though. Oh goodness, where did I go? Oh gosh. This is why you use paper Bibles, people, okay? This is why. I just lost it. All right, here we go. He was faithful, always responsible. They had to find grounds for accusing Daniel to be in connection with the rules of his religion. So the administrators and the high officers, they went to the king and they said, long live King Darius. We are all in agreement. We administrators, officials, high officers, advisors, and governors, they're including Daniel in this we, okay? We all. We all think that the king should make a law that will be strictly enforced. Give orders that for the next 30 days, anyone who prays to anyone, divine or human, except to you, your majesty, will be thrown into the den of lions. And now, your majesty, issue and sign this law so it cannot be changed, an official law of the Medes and Persians that cannot be revoked. So King Darius signed the law. believing that his best friend, the successor, Daniel, was in agreement with this. I know this is going to sound weird. How awesome is that, though? Again, I just can't get over the fact, like, they had to go that far to go behind Daniel's back and lie about him and his heart and the things he's saying just to try and get him in trouble. How awesome of a guy Daniel is, right? They convinced King Darius to issue this thing. And now here's the interactive part of the message, okay? I need everybody to give me an audible yes or no. We're all going to say it together, okay? I hope we all have the same answer on this, but we're going to figure it out together, all right? Do you think that Daniel quit praying because of this law that King Darius put in place? No. Thank goodness. Oh, my word. I was nervous. I was going to have to do some ministry real quick. No, I'm just playing. No, he was not. He was not afraid of anything. He was not afraid of losing his life. He had the future set, y'all. He was about to be the guy in the most powerful nation at that time. But he didn't care. He was ready to lose it all. He's ready to be thrown in the lion's den because he's going to keep praying to God. Daniel 6:10. When Daniel learned that the law had been signed, he went home, knelt down as usual in his upstairs room with its windows open towards Jerusalem. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he had always done, giving thanks to God. He did not care. In the smallest moments of deciding what food to eat, and in the biggest moments of being on the brink of the epitome of success at the time, of having it all, of being one of the most admirable and powerful people in the world, he said, no, I'm going to go and do what I always do and spend time with my Father, whether it's legal or not, whether it's going to put me in danger or not. He did not care. And of course he was caught. Of course the guys who put this law into place, who spoke Darius, talked him into it, they caught him. They go to Darius. They say, hey, dude, I know you just signed this law, but Daniel's praying right now to God, not to you. And Darius freaks out because Darius loves Daniel. He is not mad at Daniel, but at the same time, he is king. He has signed a law, and so he has to follow through with it. Otherwise, he's going to look weak. And the strongest man in the world cannot do anything to make himself look weak. So he has to go and have Daniel seized, brought to the lion's den, and thrown in. And by the way, this is not like the Nashville Zoo lions exhibit, okay? This is not fat, happy, sleepy lions. These are lions who have not eaten for days, who are starving. And later on in the story, there are some other guys who get thrown in the lion's den, and before they even hit the ground, the lions devour them before they even get in there, all right? But that's after Daniel gets thrown in. Let's go to where Daniel gets thrown in just for a minute. Oh, wait. Yeah, he gets thrown in, and all that happens. Daniel 6:19-23. Very early the next morning, Daniel got thrown in. The king got up and hurried out to the lion's den. When he got there, he called out in anguish, Daniel, servant of the living God, was your God, whom you serve so faithfully, able to rescue you from the lions? And I like to think Daniel paused just to like mess with him a little bit. Oh, he is so freaking out right now. He is so freaking out. Okay, long live the king, Daniel answered. My God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths so that they would not hurt me. For I have been found innocent in his sight. I have not wronged you, your majesty. The king was overjoyed, and he ordered that Daniel be lifted from the den, and not a scratch was found on him, for he had trusted in God. I mean, his consistency in the small moments and the big moments over the span of his entire lifetime, from being at the bottom to the top, the only thing he was devoted to at the end of the day was God. I hope that's your heart. I hope that's your desire for yourself. But he was not consistent with the goal of getting to that position. I need y'all to hear that. He was not praying and reading his Bible so that God would look favorably on him and then raise him up to power. He was doing it because it was the right thing to do. It didn't matter where he was going to end up, how long he was going to live, who was going to be in charge of him. He did not care. He was going to follow God's law. He was going to submit to God's authority, and he was going to allow God to use him. And God was the only one who was allowed to use him. He did not do it for any other reason except to please God. And I'm going to say something that might step on toes, and I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry because this is truth, right? If you're spending time in prayer, thinking that because you prayed, then God's definitely going to answer your prayers and protect you from all the bad and evil things in the world, you might not be as devoted to God as you are to yourself. If my prayers during the day, if I'm praying like Daniel 3 times a day and I'm saying, God, would you please heal my grandma, and would you make sure that I, me, this, that, me, that, this, I, please, no, me, please. If my prayers sound like that, that's probably means I'm devoted to myself and my well-being, versus saying, God, align my heart with yours. Help me to see things the way they are. Help me to see where you're working and how I can play a part in it so you can receive the glory. That was Daniel's heart. Not, oh God, man, I'm about to get this promotion. Can you help me out, please? Can you help me out? Help me get to the next step. Oh God, please. Okay, just forgive me while I eat this meat. Okay, I know I'm not supposed. It was not that. He was devoted to God. If you're reading your Bible because you just want to feel better about yourself before the day starts, you want to look at the stories of the guys who failed and like, oh, well, I'm not that bad, so all right, let's get going with the day. You might be focused a little bit too much on yourself. You might be devoted to yourself. Not that reading and praying are bad things. Those are not bad things at all, but we have to have the right heart when we approach them. My prayers have to be focused on God and his design and his will, and that he would reveal those to me. And when I read the Bible, I'm not reading it for myself to get my next quote for my Instagram bio. I'm reading it so that I understand who God is and how he works and what are his qualities, so that I can fall more madly in love with him and be more devoted to him. That's why I get into the scriptures. Daniel was consistent in hopes that he would be found in favor with God, not man. So I want to ask you right now, be honest with yourself. Don't hold back. Allow God right now to convict your heart. Allow the Holy Spirit to speak to you right now. What are you really devoted to? What are you really devoted to? Again, like we said in the beginning, I can say I'm devoted to one thing, but if my actions are proving something else, I might want to check it. I'm going to give 3 examples of where we might be devoting ourselves that isn't God. You might be devoting yourself to the pursuit of financial peace. But when you're gone, when it's done and it's passed on to somebody else, what does it matter? I'm not saying quit your jobs. I'm not saying just give up on, supporting your family. But if the pursuit of financial peace is what wakes me up and drives me and decides my decisions and who I hang out with and what I do, we got a problem. But you might be devoted to the pursuit of financial peace. Maybe you're devoted to getting that big promotion and having more authority in your workplace. Maybe you're trying to become your own boss. Maybe you're trying to just make it to the top, be CEO. But at the end of the day, whenever you retire and the next guy comes who wanted to be the CEO and who wanted to run the business, what does it matter? If I devote my whole life to achieving and achieving and achieving and achieving so I can be at the top, but I miss God, what does it matter? If I'm not running my business with God values, what does it matter? If I'm not leading the company that I've been promoted in using the values of God, what does it matter? You have to be devoted to God first. Last one, maybe you're devoted to gaining the approval of someone other than God. Maybe it's your mom or dad. Maybe it's your husband or wife. And you've just been seeking to hear, good job, I'm proud of you, you're doing great, keep it up. I'm so happy that we've gotten here together. You're waiting for those things, and your deepest desire is to perform and perform and perform and be perfect so you can hear those things. What does it matter if God doesn't approve? And if God does not say, I'm proud of you, good job. These things are idols that we can disguise to look like noble pursuits. And I hope that you realize that. They're not bad things. Having financial peace is not a bad thing, but God has to bring it to you. Having authority is not a bad thing, but God needs to be the one to bring it to you. Having acceptance is not a bad thing, but God needs to bring it to you. And can I tell you how you can get peace and authority and acceptance? By following Jesus Christ. It is not going to look how you think it is. I'm not saying you're going to have 20 grand in your bank account tomorrow if you follow Jesus. That's not what I'm saying. But when I follow Jesus, I get a peace that passes all understanding. I have a peace that frees me from the chains of feeling like I'm never going to achieve or make it. Whenever I follow Jesus, I am loved and accepted and seen and known and cared for because God says so, because he knit me together in my mother's womb and he had a plan and a purpose for me from day one. And so I'm accepted. I'm given authority, maybe not authority to have power over people, but I have authority to have power over the evil things in this world that are afflicting the people I love. So I'm going to ask you one more time, what are you devoted to? I hope you're devoted to Jesus. I hope every choice, every word, every action, and every thought are surrounded on, is this going to bring God glory? Not bring me into position, not bring me into power, not bring me peace, but will this bring God glory? He'll do the rest. Daniel could have got thrown in the lion's den and got eaten up. That could have been his story, and it still would have been a good story. You know why? Because he died knowing that he was devoted to God, knowing that he was doing what was right, not what was easy and safe. And I encourage you to do the same thing. Be devoted to Jesus today. If you need to talk to somebody about what that means, come talk to me, talk to Chad, talk to somebody who looks like they know what they're doing here. Then just figure it out, Have them pray for you and follow him. If you have followed him before, if you have decided before to follow him and be devoted to him, and you feel like I've messed up, I've gone too far, I've fallen back, I need to just restart. Guess what? You don't need to restart. Just because you've fallen short does not mean that you're too far gone and got to start over. Just start again from where you left off, okay? I need somebody to hear me in here. You start where you left off. Don't start over, okay? Jesus is calling. He's knocking on the door to your heart. My question is, are you going to let him in?
Let us remember the transforming power of the blood of Jesus as we sing this out together. Everything changed. It's getting harder to recognize the person I was before I encountered Christ. I don't walk like I used to, and I don't talk like I used to. I've been washed from the inside, been washed from the inside. Hallelujah, hallelujah. The blood could have only been the blood. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I know it was the blood, could have only been the cannot explain, but nothing's more real than this. In the presence of God, oh, what my heart experienced when my shame hit the wayside and my sin met the Most High. I was washed from the inside, I was washed from the inside. Hallelujah, hallelujah. The blood, it could have only been the blood. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I know it was the blood, could have only been the blood. Tell you, it's only by the blood. It's never been about deserving or earning. It's a gift that's freely given. Let me tell you, it's only by the blood. Oh, does anybody want to be whole?